Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Tattoo Awakening. All kinds of divine beasts carved on my back. Chapter 21. Kill the Wolf. Zheng Rong looked at the document in his hand with a solemn expression, and the previous joy was gone. He knew very well that if Shumo hadn't taken the initiative today, he would have killed the Red Fire Ant Queen on the spot. With the gold-level strength of the Red Fire Ant Queen, Zheng Rong was not absolutely sure that he would kill it when there was a colony of red fire ants in person. After all, Zheng Rong himself only had 5-star gold strength, a gold-level red fire ant queen, and a large group of silver high-level red fire ants. The most likely possibility is that as soon as Zheng Rong jumped off the city wall, he was surrounded by ants and torn apart. After reading Wang Lei's documents, Zheng Rong felt even worse, and then circulated the documents downwards. After everyone read the document, their expressions became very ugly. As stated in the document, in recent times, not only the Yanjing Fortress, but also the situation like today's Yanjing Fortress has occurred in various places. This is definitely not a good sign. After Shumo read the documents, he understood everyone's concerns. Monsters are different from humans. Although they have mutated due to the original 9 stars Lianju, they have become what they are today. But in fact, they are the existence at the top of the pyramid of the real food chain in this world. Humans only relied on wisdom and made various tools and weapons to drive wild beasts out of human habitats. But things are different now. With the frequent appearance of 9 stars, beasts turn into monsters, and the monsters become stronger and stronger. Ordinary human tools and weapons pose no threat to monsters at all. Monsters have the power to threaten humans at any time, so they will inevitably attack humans. This is not only due to the territorial awareness of the animals themselves, but also a manifestation of the law of the jungle. In the eyes of animals, humans are actually the source of food. The conflict between the two parties cannot be reconciled. The previous beast tide was actually a manifestation of the desire for food. After the emergence of high-level monsters that produce intelligence, the monsters' attack methods will become even more difficult to guard against. Our current situation is very bad. There are very likely high-level monsters outside the city, and our defense line may be breached at any time. Zheng Rong's words caused silence in the conference room. Gold-level monsters are already difficult to deal with, but now a platinum-level monster appears, which is very likely to exist. This puts great pressure on the entire city guard. Hasn't there been platinum monsters attacking the city before? Shumo curiously broke the silence at this time. Shumo, you just arrived and don't know much about the situation outside the city. Zheng Rong looked at Shumo and explained. High-level monsters, especially platinum-level monsters, rarely appear near human fortresses. The reason is that their living environment is actually worse than we imagined, especially their more cruel promotion requirements. For ordinary monsters, if they want to advance from bronze to 1-star platinum, the process they go through is not only cruel, but also takes a long time. It is precisely because the promotion conditions they have experienced are more cruel than ours, so at the same level, our human successors cannot be the opponents of monsters. Just like the Red Fire Ant Queen you encountered today, to be honest, if it were a head-to-head confrontation, I would only be 30% sure of being able to kill it, and the most likely outcome would be that it kills me. When Zheng Rong said this, the atmosphere in the conference room became more solemn. Everyone knows that what Zheng Rong said is true. Because of this, the high-level monster outside the city will always be like a shadow, lingering in everyone's heart. Shumo also fell silent. He heard from Zheng Rong's words that the strength of a platinum-level monster might be about the same as that of a human platinum warrior. But that's only theoretical. In reality, even a diamond-level human might not be able to win easily. Thinking of this, Shumo could finally understand why Zheng Rong and the others had said before that if there was a high-level monster outside the city, they must immediately report it to their superiors and ask them to send an adjudicator to deal with it. After all, only adjudicators who are generally at level 4 can be confident of killing high-level monsters outside the city. After the meeting, everyone went back to their homes. Shumo was assigned a new residence. Because of the successive waves of beasts, Zheng Rong was worried that there would be another wave of beasts. So Shumo was placed in a safe house closest to the city wall. The safe house is very hidden, and the building materials are more advanced than the one Shumo lived in before. The most important thing is that it has sound insulation effect, which makes it easier for Shumo to practice in the room. There is less than a mile from the safe house to the city wall, so if something happens to the city wall, Shumo can rush to the scene as soon as possible. Shumo had no objection to Zhang Rong's arrangement. In times of crisis, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. In today's meeting, Shumo gained a new understanding of the monsters in this world. The platinum monster made everyone in the Admiral's mansion feel like they were facing a formidable enemy, and they had no choice but to turn to the adjudicator to solve it. But what if there's more than just platinum monsters outside the city? Could it be that we want to alert the 12 generals, a powerful weapon of the country, to come? Humans are still too weak in front of monsters. www.readwn.com. You must improve your strength as soon as possible, otherwise if a high-level monster really attacks the city, without the protection of strong men like the judge and 12 generals around you, wouldn't you be incapable of protecting yourself? Shumo would never allow such a situation to happen to him. But not everyone can think like Shumo. The next day, when Shumo was on routine inspection of the city wall, he often heard all kinds of comments. Basically, they are worried about the existence of high-level monsters outside the city. Soldiers are generally pessimistic about the coming battle. After all, before the arbitrator arrives, even if there are 2 gold-level inheritors, Shumo and Zhang Rong, in the city guard's mansion, they cannot bring enough security to everyone. Before Shumo's inspection was over, soldiers hurried over to invite him to the meeting room of the city guard. When Shumo arrived, the conference room was already full of people. Zhang Rong waited until everyone gathered and announced something with a solemn expression. I just received news from the Alliance that most of the judges have been sent to various places to deal with the sudden outbreak of beasts, so we are afraid. Hearing Zhang Rong's words, everyone present changed their expressions. Admiral, is the Alliance planning to abandon Yanjing Fortress? No. Zhang Rong shook his head and said, there is no suitable judge who can be sent here. The only one who can be sent now is Mr. Lang Slayer. Ah, when they heard the name, Lang Mie, from Zhang Rong's mouth, everyone's expressions changed, as if they heard something scarier than a monster. This couldn't help but make Shumo particularly curious. How come everyone is even more nervous when an adjudicator can be sent here? Chapter 22. Pseudo-high-dimensional space. The judge named Lang Mie has a bit of a weird personality. Zhu Jian sat next to Shumo, noticed Shumo's curiosity, and explained in a low voice. If our news is wrong and the judge fails to find the high-level monster when he comes, we will be in big trouble. Bad luck. Shumo was even more surprised. Seeing that Shumo didn't understand, Zhu Jian patiently explained, that's the character of Mr. Wolf Slayer. If he thinks we are making things up out of thin air, or if he thinks we gave him false information, he will hold on to him. Such a situation has happened in other fortresses before. We encountered high-level monsters and asked for Alliance support. However, after Lord Wolf Slayer passed by, the high-level monsters had already left. But Mr. Wolf Slayer thought that the people from that fortress were causing trouble for him, so he applied to the Alliance to erase all the resources from that fortress. No way. Shumo looked surprised when he heard this. But when he saw Zhu Jian's serious eyes, Shumo felt that the situation was serious. Obviously not everyone has the same idea as him. Some people use their strength to bully others. Now to confirm that there are high-level monsters outside the city, someone must enter the jungle outside the city and get conclusive evidence. Zhang Rong's words were shocking at this time, and the conference room suddenly became silent. Sir, we are willing to go. Lang Qun and Zhang Jun stood up on their own initiative. The 2 of us will go together. As long as we are careful and take pictures of the monsters, we will retreat immediately. When the time comes. Listening to the words of the 2 captains, everyone present felt uncomfortable. Because everyone knows in their hearts that they think it's easy for them to talk, but when they get outside the city, they can't help it. Where is the territory of monsters, and now there are silver-level monsters everywhere outside the city, and there are even gold-level monsters. Not to mention the platinum-level monster hiding in the dark. If they encounter these monsters, their chances of escaping are infinitely close to 0. You stay here. Zhang Rong interrupted with a wave of his hand before the 2 captains finished speaking. I'll go, if I don't come back. Sir, everyone present was moved. No one expected that Zhang Rong was going to go there himself. Stop talking, this matter is settled. Zhang Rong ordered with a firm tone that left no room for doubt. While I'm away, the city garrison will be on guard, and you 3 lieutenants will discuss the solution. If I can't come back, report it to my boss immediately and let the Alliance send a new admiral to take over as soon as possible. Zheng Rong has been stuck in the Golden 5 Stars for too long. Judging from this situation, he will be like this for the rest of his life. The 2 captains, Leng Qun and Zhang Jun, still have room for advancement. As admirals, they should lead by example. Therefore, no one else but him could go on this trip outside the city. Xu Mo, after I leave, you will be the strongest here. You must protect this place. The city is here and the people are here. As if he noticed what Xu Mo wanted to say, Zheng Rong blocked everything Xu Mo wanted to say with one sentence. Xu Mo really wanted to go with Zheng Rong, but he didn't expect that the admiral in front of him had already arranged everything clearly. Seeing Zheng Rong's back leaving the conference room, Xu Mo felt unprecedented and eager to improve his strength quickly. He decided to do something quickly and couldn't just watch Zheng Rong go out of the city to die. Xu Xiaowei, this is the nameplate specially customized for us by the Alliance. After leaving the conference room, Xu Mo found Zhu Jian and asked for a nameplate for purchasing military supplies. Zhu Jian seemed to know what Xu Mo wanted to do, and without any nonsense, he directly handed a red metal plate to Xu Mo's hand. With this nameplate, no matter where you are, as long as you inject blood energy into the nameplate, you can enter the pseudo-high-dimensional space created by the Alliance and purchase military supplies. The pseudo-high-dimensional space is a masterpiece of the Alliance arsenal. Although its functions are useless, it is the best and safest material storage warehouse. It is similar to the internet space in Xu Mo's previous life, but the inheritor can directly enter the pseudo-high-dimensional space by going to the nameplate such as blood energy, where he can purchase any items he wants to buy. Taking the nameplate back to his room, Xu Mo directly injected blood energy into the nameplate. The moment energy was injected into the nameplate, Xu Mo felt a brilliance in front of his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he saw countless lockers floating in front of him, with no end in sight. This is the pseudo-high-dimensional space, the Alliance's material warehouse, and only inheritors with nameplates can enter. Xu Mo quickly noticed that there were many names recorded on a huge light curtain directly opposite him, and his own name was at the forefront. But the strange thing is that behind his name is a large series of chaotic numbers. Xu Mo's eyes lit up. He knew the meaning of those numbers, which were the merit points that Zhu Jian had told him before. In the pseudo-high-dimensional space, if you want to purchase materials, you can only use merit points. Reading www.yuakanshu.com. The source of merit points comes from killing monsters. According to killing monsters of different levels, corresponding merit points are obtained. I'm back again, ha ha ha. This time I killed a silver level mad lion beast, and my ranking will definitely rise several places. You acted alone again. You really don't know how to live or die. Our team went out to the city this time to hunt down 6 silver monsters. 1 point is much more than yours. So what? No matter how hard you work, you will only get so many merit points. I just learned from my boss. I heard that he recently went to Zhongzong Fortress, where there was a beast tied. I am sure he is still on the recruit list. First, you think your boss is invincible. There are many strong people in this world. See for yourself. While Xu Mo was looking around at the products, someone came in and muttered something, attracting Xu Mo's attention. Oh my god, no way. When did the number 1 person on the rankings change? Who is Xu Mo? He's such a beast. My boss's meritorious service has been worth less than 60,000 for so long, but Xu Mo's worth is 200,000. Look carefully, it's not 200,000, but more than 260,000. Your boss's meritorious service is only a fraction of others. How is it possible? How is it possible that this new recruit named Xu Mo can get so many merit points so quickly? If you are strong, nothing is impossible. Just accept the reality. As more and more people discuss it, the pseudo-high-dimensional space becomes lively. The recruit ranking list was really shocking. For nearly a year, a recruit named Wan Wei ranked first on the ranking list. As a result, he was suddenly overtaken by others in a crushing way, which was really unexpected. Chapter 23. Enter the jungle. The recruit list may not be valuable enough, but that doesn't mean it's easy to get on the list. According to the requirements of the Alliance, it is very simple for recruits to obtain merit points by killing monsters, which is based on the monster level. Each bronze monster has a merit point of 1,000 points, silver has 10,000 points, gold has 100,000 points, and so on. Wan Wei, who previously ranked first in the rankings, has a meritorious service value of nearly 60,000, which is absolutely transcendent among the recruits. After all, recruits who have just received the inherited bloodline do not have any advantage when facing monsters. Under such circumstances, any recruit who can gain tens of thousands of merit points in the first year of becoming a successor can definitely be regarded as an elite. The top 10 recruits in the rankings are naturally the elite among the elites, and the number 1 at the top of the list naturally attracts much attention. Therefore, Xu Mo's strong performance with more than 200,000 merit points, which was once the first place, has certainly attracted much attention. But Xu Mo had no interest in this. After understanding the trading rules of the pseudo-high-dimensional space, he began to look for the materials he wanted. His purpose in coming to the pseudo-high-dimensional space is not to be admired by others, but to quickly improve his strength. Therefore, after he was sure that his merit points were enough to purchase 10 gold-level monster crystal cores, he immediately transferred the money and left. Zhang Rong had stated in the previous meeting that he would go out of the city to look for clues in a week. Xu Mo must improve his strength before that. But the 10 gold-level monster cores made him a little disappointed, because after 7 days of absorption, his strength only broke through to the gold 9 star, and the fusion degree only increased to 90%. This surprised Xu Mo. He thought he could be promoted to the platinum level. Obviously he underestimated how difficult it would be to advance to each star once the level was high. But it was too late now. Zhang Rong had already left the city. He didn't say goodbye to anyone and left quietly alone. Xu Mo knew what Zhang Rong was thinking. He didn't want anything unexpected to happen, and he didn't want his comrades to affect his mood. At this time, outside the city, Zhang Rong had sneaked deep into the forest. Although it wasn't his first time here, it was indeed Zhang Rong's first time here alone. Outside the Yanjing fortress after the original 9 stars Lianju, changes occurred in the jungle every year because of the 9 stars Lianju. In today's jungle, the tallest plants almost reach the point of towering over the sky. The shade of the trees that covered the sky and the sun made the jungle feel like ghosts. It was silent everywhere and there was no sense of life. Every time Zhang Rong moved forward for a certain distance, he would stop carefully to look around and sense the situation. His current location is already 10 miles away from his defense zone, but it is still in the outermost area of the jungle. In Zhang Rong's impression, the outermost part of the jungle was actually the place where monsters had the most activity. But today, he didn't even see a single monster on the way in. This is definitely not normal. After walking a few hundred meters further, Zhang Rong's expression changed, and he suddenly thought of a possibility. Could it be that the high-level monster has been targeting me from the moment I stepped into the jungle? So you didn't encounter any monsters along the way? This thought made Zhang Rong's hair stand on end, but it didn't stop Zhang Rong from moving forward. When he stepped into the jungle this time, he was mentally prepared for the worst and would never give up until he achieved his goal. If that high-level monster is really targeting him, no matter whether he moves forward or retreats, there is actually only one result. Instead of being afraid, it is better to encounter the other party early, so that he can achieve the purpose of his trip. However, just when Zhang Rong was about to move forward again, there was a fierce collision of branches in the jungle ahead. Immediately afterwards, several monsters surrounded Zhang Rong from all directions. These monster brothers are huge, like moving containers. From the auras emanating from these monsters, Zhang Rong quickly determined that they were just a group of silver-level monsters. A bunch of ignorant beasts want to besiege me and seek death. Roar! Zhang Rong's body trembled, green light rose up behind him, and the shadow of a ferocious beast appeared behind him. It was a giant crocodile that was 10 meters long and 4 meters high, with scales all over its body and a ferocious face. Earth Soul Golden Crystal Crocodile. Zhang Rong's inherited bloodline beast. Zhang Rong had already moved at the moment when it embodied the bloodline beast. Bang bang bang. Zhang Rong's figure was like a shooting star swimming in front of several silver-level monsters. Every time he came in front of a monster, his fist would hit the monster's head heavily. The life gates of most monsters are at the top of their heads. Zhang Rong's 5-star golden attack can easily penetrate the life gates of these silver-level monsters. In an instant, the sound of falling down in the jungle kept ringing in my ears, and the blood on the ground soon gathered into small streams, flowing in all directions. The monsters did not expect Zhang Rong's strength to be so terrifying. Seeing their companions being killed, the monsters smelled the ***** smell in the air, their eyes turned red, and they all pounced on Zhang Rong. Reading www.uakanshu.com. Faced with the monster's siege, Zhang Rong advanced instead of retreating. He waved his fists repeatedly and flexibly avoided the monster's attacks. At the same time, he punched the monster's weakest part with a hard punch. Zhang Rong, who was blessed with the strength of the Earth's soul golden crystal crocodile, used his fist like a cutting machine. In an instant, he penetrated a monster on the spot, and fountains of blood shot out everywhere. The remaining monsters finally became frightened and turned around and ran away, without Zhang Rong pursuing them. Don't chase when you are in trouble also applies to these monsters. When the opponent may have high-level monsters, chasing monsters is absolutely irrational behavior. Especially the behavior of the group of monsters that just appeared was really puzzling to Zhang Rong. It was as if they were specially sent out for me to kill, although there were attacks throughout the battle. But with their level of attack, it was impossible to cause any harm to Zhang Rong. Moreover, such a fierce confrontation can easily attract more monsters, but until the end of the battle, no other monsters were seen. This is definitely not normal. So after Zhang Rong cleaned up the monster crystal core, he directly chose the opposite direction to the monster just now. For the next trip, Zhang Rong was more careful than before. He vaguely felt that he was getting closer and closer to his goal, but an uneasy feeling in his heart continued to expand, seeming to remind himself to leave quickly. Zhang Rong gritted his teeth and continued to move forward. As his feet began to speed up, he stuffed a gold-level crystal core into his mouth. He had already planned to leave immediately as soon as he captured evidence of the existence of high-level monsters, never stop, and return to Yanjing Fortress at all costs. Roar! Just as Zhang Rong was making up his mind, a strange roar suddenly came from ahead. Chapter 24. Sky-Splitting Demon Ape King. It's that high-level monster. Zhang Rong became nervous instantly. He was so familiar with this sudden roar. Zhang Rong heard it 3 times during the previous beast wave. Such a terrifying aura, such a domineering momentum, except for high-level monsters, other monsters cannot imitate it even if they want to. In an instant, Zhang Rong stopped, leaned against a tree dozens of meters tall, and looked around. In just a few seconds, Zhang Rong's whole body was soaked with sweat as if it had just been soaked by rain. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of heavy footsteps moved from far to near, and the trembling movement on the ground became more and more intense. As the jungle ahead parted to both sides, a huge figure appeared in front of Zhang Rong, blocking out the sky and the sun. It's really like dark clouds are coming over me, like the end is coming. The appearance effect of high-level monsters is so strong. In this area where gold-level monsters were once king, a platinum-level monster is definitely the overlord. Zhang Rong was stunned by the monster that suddenly appeared in front of him, but he immediately reacted and pointed his camera at the monster. Now it is absolutely certain that there is indeed a high-level monster in the jungle outside the city wall under his jurisdiction. With image information, even if the wolf slayer comes and the monster is gone, he will still have something to say. After confirming that the recording was successful, Zhang Rong prepared to leave without any hesitation. But at this moment, the monster suddenly made a deafening voice. "Human, do you think you still have a chance to escape from me?" As the monster spoke, its huge figure finally appeared in front of Zhang Rong's eyes. It was an ape with weird green hair all over its body, and a pair of wings as big as an angel's behind it. Seeing the monster flying in the air, Zhang Rong's expression changed drastically. Without any hesitation, he turned around and ran away. It was indeed a platinum-level monster, he was sure of it. Being able to speak human words, the most important thing is that Zhang Rong still knows him. That's a sky-splitting demon ape. An ape with wings and green hair, there is nothing else but it. How dare you break into this king's territory and run away? Die. The sky-splitting demon ape king flapped its wings and took off, quickly locking Zhang Rong's position. Of course, Zhang Rong could not sit still and wait for death. His whole body was shrouded in a ball of red light, and the energy of the inherited bloodline in his body was exerted to the extreme in an instant. The golden crystal core that had been in his mouth was swallowed directly and tightly. Then he stuffed another one into his mouth. Like a shooting star, Zhang Rong's figure moved forward with lightning speed. But his speed at this level is simply too childish in the eyes of the demonic ape king who is good at flying. The sky-splitting demon ape king just jumped up and then stepped forward with one foot. Zhang Rong swallowed the golden crystal core in his mouth again and ran forward madly at the cost of burning his life. But it was still too slow. The sky-splitting demon ape king stepped down. Although it did not directly hit Zhang Rong, the shock wave generated by that step swept directly across Zhang Rong's back. Puff! Zhang Rong spurted out a mouthful of blood. Zhang Rong couldn't bear the shock wave caused by just the sky-splitting demon ape king stepping on it. If it were really stepped on, I'm afraid it would be a puddle of meat paste by now. There is no way to make up for the gap in strength with all your efforts, not to mention that the opponent is still a platinum monster that can stand up to a diamond-level human being. And Zhang Rong, who only has 5-star gold strength, how can he compete with the opponent? It's too late to escape. After the disaster, Zhang Rong ignored his injuries, got up and ran forward again. In the surveillance room of the city guard's mansion, Zhang Jun stared at a separate screen without blinking for almost 3 hours. Suddenly, his pupils suddenly tightened, and he stood up from his seat with a cry. My lord, I have captured evidence that there really is a platinum monster in the jungle. Everyone heard the sound and gathered around, only to see Zhang Rong vomiting blood after hitting the monster with a shock wave. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and everyone's mood became heavier. Everyone knows that the admiral took the initiative to go into the jungle alone to prevent everyone from dying. But now that everyone sees the platinum monster in the image, their hearts are shrouded in fear. Lang Qun, Shu Mo, what should we do next? Are we going to pick up the admiral? Zhang Jun looked back at his companions, only to see Lang Qun and a group of stunned officers, but not Shu Mo. Lang Qun, where is Shu Mo? Zhang Jun felt an unpleasant feeling in his heart. He's not, where is he? Lang Qun reacted, looking around blankly, his face suddenly changed. Is it possible that Shu Mo went outside the city to pick up the admiral? Hearing this, Zhang Jun and Lang Qun's expressions changed drastically. Shu Mo was indeed already outside the city at this time. The moment he saw the sky-splitting demon ape king, Shu Mo knew that Zhang Rong was in danger. So without any hesitation, he climbed over the city wall and ran straight into the jungle. Shu Mo went to the jungle not only to meet Zhang Rong, but also to fulfill the tasks assigned to him by the system. Just now, the system assigned him another side mission, asking him to go to the jungle to delay the sky-splitting demon ape king and help Zhang Rong return to the city. The reward is a 10% increase in integration. In fact, even if there was no mission, Shu Mo would go into the jungle to meet Zhang Rong, www.readwn.com, but he didn't expect that the system would let him fight against monsters. Go head-to-head with a platinum-level opponent and a monster. Just thinking about it made Shu Mo feel excited, and the blood in his body was about to boil. The other side, I will fight with you. Zhang Rong, who was forced to have almost no way to escape, became ruthless at this time. Regardless of the fact that he was seriously injured, he actually rushed towards the sky-splitting demon ape king. At this moment, Zhang Rong was ready to die together. Even if you know that doing this is like moths rushing to the flame, it is impossible for them to die together. But even if he dies, he must tear off a piece of that beast's skin. Zhang Rong was also forced to do nothing. Platinum-level monsters and gold-level monsters are basically two different concepts. When a monster grows to the platinum level, in addition to doubling its strength, it will also gain natural combat skills and domain range. Even the worst platinum monster without awakening talent combat skills will have its own domain. Within the realm of monsters, humans have no place to hide. Just like the sky-splitting demon ape king in front of Zhang Rong, the field it possesses is a detection function similar to human radar, but countless times more advanced than radar. Within the domain of the sky-splitting demon ape king, Zhang Rong could not escape no matter how fast he ran. Is that all you can do? Then you can go die. At this time, the sky-splitting demon ape king had had enough of teasing Zhang Rong. He stepped down and used the power of the shockwave to fly toward Zhang Rong. Then he punched Zhang Rong straight in the air and hit him hard. Seeing the enlarging fist in front of his eyes, Zhang Rong, who was in midair, closed his eyes in despair. Chapter 25. Risk One's Life. The fist of the sky-splitting demon ape king slammed down on Zhongrong in midair. Zhongrong closed his eyes tightly and welcomed death calmly. However, at this moment, a ray of light and shadow passed through the air. The demon ape king's fist hit a giant tree that could not be hugged by dozens of people, creating a huge hole. The debris flew, the giant tree fell backwards with a crashing sound, and the demon ape king fluttered its wings and soared into the sky. Zhongrong felt a lightness all over his body, and then he felt his feet on the ground. He opened his eyes in shock and saw Shumo looking at him with a faint smile. Shumo, why are you here? Zhongrong's tone was full of accusations, but Shumo knew that Zhongrong didn't want to take risks himself. But if he hadn't arrived in time, Zhongrong would have been crushed by the demon ape king's punch just now. The strength of platinum-level monsters is indeed extraordinary. Ding, congratulations to the host, you completed the side mission and will be rewarded with plus 10% fusion degree. Close black lens bracket. Ding, congratulations to the host, the Chongming bird's bloodline fusion degree has reached the full value, and you can randomly obtain the Chongming bird's talent skill, Fury. Close black lens bracket. The system prompt sounded in Shumo's mind at this time, making Shumo slightly stunned. The Chongming bird's bloodline fusion degree is at full value, and you can obtain the Chongming bird's talent skill, Violent. This is a good thing. Using the Raged skill can increase damage by 10%, increase strength by 15%, and increase physical attack by 30%. In short, once the Chongming bird talent skill is used, Shumo's current 9-star gold strength can reach the level of 1-star or even 2-star platinum. Thinking of this, Shumo looked at the sky-splitting demon ape king slowly descending from the sky, his eyes full of fighting spirit. Now that his bloodline has been completely integrated and his natural skills have been activated, he should be able to challenge the sky-splitting demonic ape king. Of course Shumo wants to fight against the demonic ape king. Admiral, you run to the Golden Phoenix department, and I will lure this gorilla away. After saying that, Shumo refused to say anything, pushed Zhongrong away, and shot towards the demon ape king. Gorilla, come after me if you have the guts. Shumo rushed into the air, punched suddenly, and hit the thigh of the sky-splitting demon ape king. At the same time, the Thunderfire Sky Halberd appeared in Shumo's hand wrapped in thunder, and the small branch of the halberd hit the demon ape king's knee hard. Crack. With a crisp sound, Shumo flew out and shot towards the jungle. Roar. The sky-splitting demon ape king instantly let out a thundering roar, a roar that was infuriated by Shumo. What Shumo did just now was beyond the expectations of the sky-splitting demon ape king. It didn't take Shumo's sudden appearance into consideration at all, and even deliberately allowed Shumo to hit him. But it never expected that Shumo would actually use some dirty tricks to seriously injure itself. The sky-splitting demon ape king was really angry at this moment. Looking at the wound on his knee, blood was spraying out, and it roared like crazy. It never expected that humans, who were like ants in its eyes, could actually hurt its body and even make it red. How can this make it not angry? After being promoted to platinum, the sky-splitting demon ape king had not experienced being injured by a human for a long time, and Shumo actually hurt him. How can I bear this? At Yanjing Fortress, on the city wall, everyone looked pale, looking at the black shadow appearing in the sky outside the city. The terrifying aura of the sky-splitting demonic ape king made everyone feel suffocated even from such a distance. It's really a platinum-level monster, and it's still so big and has wings. How the ***** do you fight this? There was a look of despair in everyone's eyes. However, at this moment, there was a noise coming from the city, which immediately attracted everyone's attention. Yes, it's the Admiral. The Admiral fainted. Quickly, get the Admiral in quickly, hurry up. Oh my god, did the Admiral provoke that platinum monster? But why did the monster go in the opposite direction to the city wall? What's the matter? You still want the monster to come over and make out with you? I didn't mean anything, I just... While the soldiers were rescuing Zhongrong, many people became curious about what was happening in the jungle. But no one could guess that Shumo was racing against the sky-splitting demon ape king at this moment. The sky-splitting demon ape king tried his best to release his domain, chased Shumo all the way, and galloped towards the depths of the dense forest. And Shumo just happened to be outside its domain, so the sky-splitting demon ape king was unable to capture Shumo's chi. This further angered the sky-splitting demon ape king, who rushed forward regardless. Wherever it passed, the sky collapsed and the earth shattered, and countless low-level monsters that had no time to avoid died tragically at its feet. Why did the system come up with another mission? Shu Mo, who was walking the sky-splitting demon ape king, suddenly heard the system notification sound in his mind. Ding, the side mission is activated. Kill or tame the sky-splitting demon ape king, and reward the Chongming bird talent skill, risk your life. Close black lens bracket. The system is forcing itself to fight against the sky-splitting demon ape king. Shu Mo's eyes were full of fighting spirit, and he was determined to win the reward of the side mission. Of course, the more talents and skills Chongming now has, the better. How could he be satisfied with just a violent rage? Shu Mo just read the relevant introduction of sacrifice one's life. That is the most powerful stunt of the Chongming bird, and it is one of the best stunts on Yu reading www.yuakanshu.com. As long as Shu Mo can cultivate to a sufficient star level, it will be no problem to crush the void and destroy the stars. In ancient times, the Chongming bird relied on this unique skill to dominate the ancient times. Human, are you ready to die? At this time, the sky-splitting demon ape king unexpectedly discovered that Shu Mo slowed down and finally stopped opposite him. The sky-splitting demon ape king couldn't help but stop and looked at Shu Mo from afar. The human in front of him was obviously much more cunning than the ants he almost killed earlier. The bleeding wound on his left knee was proof of this. It's just that the sky-splitting demon ape king couldn't figure out at this time, why did Shu Mo stop? Does he have another conspiracy? On the other side, on the wall of Yanjing Fortress, Zheng Rong woke up and turned around. His first reaction when he woke up was to look outside the city wall and ask loudly, "Which of you saw Shu Mo? Is Shu Mo back?" Everyone looked at each other in confusion. "Admiral, you came back alone and didn't see Captain Shu. It couldn't be Colonel Shu who picked you up, right? No wonder the monster just ran in the opposite direction. Could it be that Lieutenant Shu was fighting that platinum monster just now? Isn't he just a 5-star gold star? Shu Lieutenant fights against the platinum monster. Oh my god, isn't he?" Everyone's words made Zheng Rong's eyes darken again. He had just been outburst and exhausted for a long time, and now he was frightened. If Shu Mo was killed by that platinum monster because of him, he would never forgive himself for the rest of his life. Hurry up and report it to the Alliance and ask them to send an adjudicator over immediately, quickly. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.